All right, hey everyone, buckle up, because today we are taking a deep dive into some seriously cool stuff. Self-love rituals with a witchcraft twist.
Ooh, sounds intriguing.
It is. We're going to be looking at excerpts from this book called Self-Love Witchcraft. It's this really interesting blend of like self-help and, well, witchcraft,
Yeah.
obviously.
Oh,
But don't worry, you don't have to be like a practicing witch or anything to get something out of this.
right.
It's really fascinating how the book frames this whole idea of self-love.
Yeah, it kind of goes beyond just, the usual stuff like a bubble baths and those positive affirmations.
Right.
It's presented as this like energetic practice,
Hmm.
almost like a personal power, you know what I mean?
Oh, that's interesting. So
Yeah.
it's not just about feeling good, but like actually harnessing some sort of energy.
Right,
What
exactly.
does that even look like?
Okay, so think of it this way. Witchcraft often revolves around this idea that we each have like an aura, an
Okay.
energy field,
Yeah.
and we can actually influence this field. So these self-love rituals are kind of like tools to shift that energy towards, well, loving yourself,
I see.
like strengthening your aura, healing, finding inner peace, and even, attracting positive energy.
Okay, so I'm starting to get it, but rituals.
Yeah.
Like what kind of rituals are we actually talking about here?
Well, the book outlines a bunch of different ones, each designed to, help you tap into that self-love energy.
Hmm.
There's a candle ritual to boost your confidence, a moon bathing ritual for emotional healing, even a spell jar for attracting good vibes.
Wait, hold up. Spell jars. Now you've got my attention.
Yeah.
Those sound pretty hands-on. Tell me more about those.
So these spell jars are all about affirmations, but with like a magical twist, right?
Okay.
You write down these positive statements about yourself, things like, I am worthy or I am powerful. And then you combine those with specific herbs and crystals that are believed to like amplify those intentions.
Herbs and crystals, huh? Okay, now it's getting really interesting.
Right.
So you're basically creating this little jar of positive energy that you can just like carry around with you, like a self-love power-up.
That's the idea. And
Yeah.
the act of actually creating it, that's part of the magic too.
Yeah.
Like focusing your intention, putting in the effort,
Mhm.
that can be surprisingly empowering in itself,
I can see that. It's like taking those like abstract affirmations
Yes.
and making them into something tangible, something real.
Exactly.
Now, I got to ask about this candle ritual. Fire, to me, has always felt really transformative.
Yeah.
What's the thinking behind using candles in this context?
Well, candles are kind of a big deal in a lot of magical traditions.
Mhm.
They represent the element of fire,
Mhm.
which is often linked to passion, change, purification, all that good stuff.
Mhm.
And in this specific ritual, you choose either a pink or an orange candle.
Okay.
Pink for, self-care and love, orange for confidence and self-expression. Then you light the candle and look at yourself in the mirror while saying these affirmations.
Looking into your own eyes in the mirror while affirming your worth.
Yeah,
That sounds pretty intense, but in a good way.
right.
I can see how that would like force you to confront any self-doubt head on.
Exactly. It's about really like seeing yourself, acknowledging your own beauty and strength. And the ritual even involves writing a love letter to yourself.
Whoa, hold on.
Yeah.
A love letter to yourself. Okay, that's a twist I didn't expect. But it feels like a really tangible way to actually practice self-compassion.
Yeah, for sure.
But let's switch gears for a second and talk about this moonbathing ritual.
Okay.
That sounds a lot more, I don't know, ethereal, I guess.
Yeah, it definitely has a different vibe.
Yeah.
Moonbathing is all about tapping into the energy of the moon, which, is often associated with emotions, healing, intuition, all that.
Hmm.
It's about cleansing yourself of any negativity and absorbing the moon's calming energy.
All right, so paint me a picture here. What does a moonbathing ritual actually involve?
Okay, so imagine yourself under a full moon. Maybe you're taking a bath, or just sitting with a bowl of water infused with things like Epsom salts and rose petals.
Okay.
You light a candle, focus on your intentions, and basically just bask in the moonlight.
It sounds incredibly peaceful, almost meditative.
Right.
I can see how that would help you, tune into yourself and just let go of stress.
Yeah, totally.
So the book, it suggests visualizing the moonlight, washing away any negativity, leaving you feeling refreshed and renewed.
Yeah, it's like a cosmic spa treatment.
I love that analogy. But speaking of treatments, we haven't even touched on this glamour magic. Is this Is this about like turning us all into Instagram influencers or something?
Not quite. In this context, glamour magic is less about, superficial beauty and
Yeah.
more about enhancing your natural radiance.
Yep.
It's about recognizing and amplifying your inner sparkle.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
So, how do you actually do grammar magic? What does that look like in practice?
It can be as simple as just weaving it into your everyday routine.
Okay. The book suggests things like um, chanting affirmations of beauty and confidence while you're getting ready,
Uh-huh.
or even charging your beauty products with positive intentions.
Hold on, you can charge your beauty products with magic. Like, infuse your lipstick with good vibes.
Exactly. It's about intentionally uh, imbuing the objects you use with the energy you want to cultivate. So while putting on lipstick, you might affirm your creativity and power, for example.
Okay, that's a really cool concept. I love the idea of bringing magic into the everyday, finding those little moments of, empowerment throughout the day. But before we get too carried away, there's one more ritual we need to unpack. Mirror meditation.
Ah, yes. This one can be particularly powerful,
Yeah,
but for some, it can also be a little challenging.
I can see that.
It's about facing yourself, literally and figuratively, with compassion and acceptance.
I think a lot of people, myself included, have a kind of complicated relationship with mirrors.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get caught up in self-criticism when you're looking in the mirror. Absolutely, and that's exactly what this meditation aims to shift. You sit in front of a mirror, look into your own eyes, and repeat affirmations of self-love and acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
The book also emphasizes placing your hands over your heart as you do this,
Oh, wow.
to physically connect with your own compassion.
It sounds like a way to turn that critical inner voice into a more loving one.
Yeah.
But what if you're hit with this a wave of difficult emotions during the meditation?
That's actually kind of the point. This practice encourages you to just observe those feelings without judgment.
Yeah.
To be present with your own experience. It's a practice in radical self-acceptance.
That's such an important point. We often try to push away those uncomfortable feelings
Yes.
instead of just letting ourselves actually feel them.
Exactly. And this meditation, it invites you to simply witness those feelings with kindness and curiosity. It's like holding up a mirror to your inner world
Yeah.
and saying, I see you and I love you anyway.
Wow, that's a powerful image. So we've covered a lot of ground here. We've explored candle magic, moon bathing, spell jars,
Yeah.
even charging our lipstick with good vibes.
It seems like, at their core, these self-love rituals, they're less about the specific actions themselves
Right.
and more about the intention behind them.
Yeah.
It's about using everyday objects and practices as a way to connect with something deeper within ourselves.
And I think that's what's so appealing about this approach. It's not about relying on some like external force,
Right.
but rather about harnessing this power that already exists within each of us.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing and nurturing that inner magic, that inherent worthiness that we all possess.
Beautifully put. But before we go any further, let's take a moment to let all of that sink in. When we come back, we'll explore how to make these rituals your own and why embracing your unique magic is so important. So we're back and ready to dive even deeper into self-love witchcraft. As we were discussing all those rituals, I kept thinking, this all sounds amazing, but where do I even begin?
Yeah, that's a pretty common feeling when you're, exploring something new. Remember, you don't have to jump in all at once. It's about finding what resonates with you and starting small.
So let's say like someone is brand new to all of this. What would you suggest as a good first step?
Well, I think the affirmation jar spell is a great entry point. It's tangible, it's hands-on, and surprisingly empowering. You can gather the materials, at your own pace and really personalize it.
Yeah, I can see how that would be really appealing, especially for people who, like to work with their hands. Plus, having that physical jar as a reminder of your intentions could be really powerful. What about for someone who's more drawn to, like, the meditative aspects of all this?
Oh, for those folks, the mirror meditation might be a perfect fit.
Okay.
It's accessible, really only requiring a quiet space and a willingness to just be present with yourself.
That really resonates with me. It seems like all these rituals, no matter how different they may seem, they ultimately aim to cultivate self-awareness and a deeper connection with yourself.
Exactly. It's about creating a space to honor your needs and connect with your inner wisdom. But what I find particularly interesting is that The book encourages like adapting these rituals to your own life.
Oh, okay. So it's not about like following the strict set of rules.
No, 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 not at all.
You can personalize them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Witchcraft at its heart is about, working with your intuition and intention.
Right.
So, for example, if you feel drawn to certain herbs or crystals that aren't even mentioned in the book, you can absolutely incorporate them.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's about like making the practice feel authentic to you. What about the affirmations? Can those be tweaked as well?
Of course. The affirmations should resonate with you on a personal level. So if you're working on building confidence in a specific area of your life, you can tailor them to reflect that.
So instead of a general statement like "I am confident,"
Yeah.
you might say "I am confident in my abilities as a writer," or whatever feels relevant to you.
Precisely. The key is to make the practice meaningful and aligned with your own journey. However, I imagine some listeners might be wondering about the word witchcraft itself. It can carry a lot of baggage.
It definitely can.
Yeah.
It's important to acknowledge that witchcraft has been, historically misunderstood, even demonized. There's still a lot of misconceptions out there. But what we're exploring here, it feels different,
Yeah.
much more personal and empowering.
Exactly. It's about like reclaiming the word witchcraft and using it as a tool for self-love, healing, and personal growth.
And it's worth clarifying that this is not about like manipulating others or controlling outcomes.
No, absolutely not. It's about working with your own energy, aligning with your highest self, and creating positive change from within.
Hmm.
It's something anyone can connect with, regardless of, their spiritual beliefs.
Speaking of inner power, the book talks about embracing your magic. What does that actually mean?
It's about recognizing your unique gifts, talents, and potential, not being afraid to let them shine.
So it's not about suddenly developing supernatural powers or anything like that,
Right.
but about like cultivating this sense of self-belief and owning your authenticity.
Exactly. It's about remembering that you are already, whole and complete just as you are. And these self-love rituals, they can help you, reconnect with that inner spark, especially if you're feeling lost or uncertain.
That's a beautiful message. But what does it actually look like to embrace your magic in everyday life?
It can be as simple as, speaking kindly to yourself, setting healthy boundaries, or pursuing your passions. It's about making choices that align with your values and bring you joy.
It's about showing up for yourself in a way that feels, authentic and empowering. And I think that's a powerful message for everyone.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that we all have the potential to create amazing things and live fulfilling lives.
Now, before we wrap up, I want to touch on something that's been on my mind. The idea of community.
Okay.
We focus a lot on like personal practice and all that, but can self-love be like enhanced through connection with others?
That's an insightful observation. While self-love is, very much a personal journey,
Mhm.
the book also hints at this idea of community magic, where, like-minded individuals come together to amplify their intentions and support each other's growth.
So it's not just about these solitary rituals, but also about like finding your tribe and creating this space for shared growth and vulnerability.
Precisely. It's about realizing that you're not alone on this path. And that brings us to our final thoughts for this deep dive.
Okay, so we spent this deep dive exploring these fascinating self-love rituals from self-love witchcraft, talked about personalizing them, and even touched on that idea of embracing our own unique magic.
Yeah, and it's interesting how this all ties back to the bigger picture. How does this emphasis on self-love actually kind of ripple outwards? How does it affect our interactions with the world around us?
That's a great question. I was just thinking about, that saying, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Hmm.
Like if we're not taking care of ourselves, it's hard to, show up for others.
Exactly. And this whole idea of community magic where, like-minded people come together to support each other's growth, it really resonates with that concept, right? Like when we cultivate self-love, it naturally like influences how we interact with everyone else.
Yeah, so it's not just about, solitary practice, but also about, finding those like-minded people to connect with and learn from and create a really supportive network.
Precisely. It's about creating this space where vulnerability is welcomed and individuals can, really feel empowered to embrace their authentic selves. It's almost like this collective raising of consciousness.
Hmm. That's a beautiful way to put it. And it highlights the idea that, we're not alone in this journey. We can draw strength and inspiration from each other.
And that's where the true magic lies, in realizing that self-love isn't, it's not selfish.
Right.
It's actually this powerful force that can transform not just our own lives, but the lives of those around us as well.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up our deep dive into self-love witchcraft, I want to leave you with a thought-provoking question to ponder. If you could charge one everyday object with self-love energy, what would it be, and why?
Let that question simmer as you continue exploring your own self-love journey. Remember, the magic is within you, just waiting to be discovered.
Thanks for joining us on this magical exploration. Until next time, keep diving deep and keep embracing your own unique and beautiful magic.